Tonight on Obscured Reality, join us as we travel to Latin America and play with a goat sucker, the Chupacabra. From dead livestock with surgical incisions and no traces of blood, to dogs with mange, what could this creature possibly be? Come find out. Sit down, sit back, and relax, and join us on our journey through Obscured Reality.
Welcome to another episode of Obscured Reality. Join your hosts, Mark and Stephanie, as they take you through a journey of the extraordinary, bizarre, and often frightening world of the unknown. Explore topics of the paranormal, UFOs, alien abduction, lost civilizations, mythical monsters, and other unexplained mysteries. Come along with us as we transcend into another dimension of obscured reality.
Welcome back to Obscured Reality. I am your host, and joining me tonight, your co-host, Stephanie. How's it going, Stephanie?
It's going good. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. I didn't tell anyone my name. Hopefully the 5 subscribers know it. All right. What kind of story interests you tonight? You want to talk about dogs?
I love dags. Do you like dags?
I do. I'm sick of having pets because nowadays they're just an annoyance. I hate picking up poop, but I do like dogs. Our dog is good, but when he's gone, I'm good.
I can't live without my 2 dogs and my cat. I have a 3rd dog right now simply because my boyfriend is in town visiting, and when he's like at his mom's, he can't have his dog with him because his mom's dog and his dog don't get along.
Yeah.
So I currently have a 3rd dog who just happens to be like a 95-pound shepherd, and like poop really doesn't bother me because my dogs are like small, medium size, but this dude, like,
yeah. Small dog
I'm
poop
good.
I can do, but big dog poop, I'm the one looking around to see if there's people nearby or cameras, and I am not picking it up, so I don't do it. I hate it.
I low-key have a little area that I just kind of like shove it all into, and like just so the yard looks clean, so that when it comes time to clean the yard, it's just easier than walking around the whole thing.
Yep. Well, speaking of dogs, would you ever like to own your very own Chupacabra?
No.
No?
No.
I don't know that I would. I mean, technically I would, because they're probably not real. So I'll take a statue of one, but
that's fair.
I'm thinking tonight will be Chupacabras.
All right. Let's get into it.
I'm kind of interested. I've heard of Chupacabras for a long time. For some reason, when I hear Chupacabra, I think of some movie I saw on TV when I was a little kid about some people that lived out in like the desert of Arizona or New Mexico or something like that. And it was some lady. I just remember some lady screaming about a dingo ate her baby or something like that, or ate her dog.
I do believe that was like Australia.
Was it? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It makes sense too. I don't know why I think of a dingo when I think of Chupacabra, but maybe it's because they're both kind of dog-like. Right?
I feel like because they're both wild dogs.
Well, Bigfoot's wild. I don't think of Bigfoot.
True, but Bigfoot's also not a dog.
True.
As far as we know.
Yeah. If real, probably more human than anything.
Absolutely.
Well, Chupacabras. We had this one ready to go for a while. I found out some stuff I didn't know. They're kind of interesting. Do you know anything about Chupacabras at all?
All I know is that it is a Hispanic myth of a demonic dog-like creature. I first heard of it from some friends, good Lord, easily 20 years ago, down in Texas.
The Chupa's been around for a while.
Yeah, probably more than that 20 years, but I've known of it for at least 2 decades. But details outside of its appearance and its like general origin story, I don't know too much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously, I think many of us know kind of what Chupacabra means. The Chupacabra is literally goat sucker. It's from Spanish, of course. Chupar is to suck, and cabras is goats. Goat sucker. Okay. I'm guessing we're going to find out some correlation between Chupacabra and goats. My guess is they eat them or something. Let's find out.
My guess is that they're going to suck the blood out in like a alien visitation type style and just like leave a hollow carcass.
Now that you mentioned that, leaving a hollow carcass and all that, I listened to a podcast last night, or a couple days ago, and this guy literally, kind of like us, we prefer facts and evidence and things that can lead us to a reasonable explanation on things. He looks into all this stuff, and one of those was he was talking about how to do with like cattle mutilations, where they're finding these things that they're always saying, oh, they're surgically cut open, and this wasn't an animal that did it, they're surgically cut open, there's no blood, all this stuff, right? And what he was saying was basically it's all a bunch of BS. He goes, a lot of times these things have died or been attacked or whatever the deal is. He goes, number one, basically the dead cow is laying there rotting, and just the way it happens, man, I'm going to totally jack up trying to explain it, but basically the blood stays inside. It doesn't leak out because the heart stops pumping.
Right.
Because they're dead. So he's like, of course it's not leaking out. The blood's always back in there. And as far as the cuts on the body, if that's what killed it or whatnot, is typically because, they wind up not looking like a ragged cut or anything, having to do something with laying out there in the sun. The way that it
splits.
And it kind of like probably tightens up, I guess. I'd have to go back and listen to it. It was really interesting.
Well, that makes sense. Considering the stages of death, that does kind of make sense.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, oh, that's cool. Because, the people that are really into this type of stuff, that are really going to try and push an alien agenda or a Bigfoot or things like that, not saying any of that is or isn't real, but the ones that are really going to try and push that are going to go for, nope, that's a surgical cut. There's no blood anywhere, blah, 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 all that. And it's like, well, it's just not 100% true, guys.
I mean, blood does coagulate.
Yeah, so the name Chupacabra comes from the animal's reported vampirism. The Chupacabra
called it.
Yeah, it's said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats. So my guess is drink the blood of livestock, including goats. My guess is cabra works better with chupa than whatever the Spanish word for cow is or other livestock. What's chicken in Spanish?
Pollo.
Pollo. Chupa pollo. Chupacabra just flows better.
Yeah, I do like chupa pollo though.
So it's a legendary creature in the folklore of parts of the Americas, with its first purported sightings reported in Puerto Rico in 1995.
Dang, so this thing, oh, really?
Yeah.
95. Okay. So maybe it wasn't around much longer than the 20 years that I had assumed.
Well, I think it has been. That's just a first purported sighting. But let's see where we go with this here, because I think you're right, and it is longer than that.
Yeah.
Which,
But that's interesting that the first reported sighting was in Puerto Rico. I never would have expected that.
Yeah, this is the way I found it written. They could mean the first reported sighting in Puerto Rico was in 95.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'm going in order too. So the way I read that is just the first sighting period was 95. However, there's other sightings prior to 95. We're going to get there in just a minute. So, apples, oranges type deal. Who really knows, So the description of the animal or whatever it is in Puerto Rico and Latin America, they describe it as reptilian and alien-like, a heavy creature the size of a small bear with a row of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail. In southwestern United States, a dog-like creature. Interesting. So,
okay.
I'm guessing I sent you some pictures.
Yes.
I'm going to have to pull those up here. I don't know why I don't have them up and ready to go. But those pictures, let's see here. So that first one where he's kind of crouched down looking at you with the big like elf ears and the fangs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that's kind of the one they're referring to there.
That is the version in which I am familiar with.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, the other picture kind of looks the same. We'll get there in a minute, probably. But yeah, it's kind of, I'll throw it up on the screen here for you guys. It's kind of what they're reported to look like. So those are the main descriptions from Puerto Rico, Latin America, southwestern U.S., so probably more the desert states.
That is very interesting that we have a discrepancy between lizard-like and dog-like.
Well, I mean, I'd question that. I mean, I see where you're going with that. Mm-hmm. However, if you look at that one I sent you, I mean, it's kind of like a hairless cat or a hairless dog, right? So
very much, yeah.
Yeah, so if it appears to be hairless, then my thinking is that's probably where the reptile thing comes to mind. But
True.
I mean, everyone's going to describe things different, right? You're gonna let's say you actually see that thing run across in front of you, and I see it run across in front of me. We're probably both going to have some type of discrepancy in how we describe it, So they may look at it as looking hairless as reptile-like. Who knows?
Fair.
I think it just looks like a trashy dog.
It looks like a
with
dog with mange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might come up. So sightings.
Mm-hmm.
So in Puerto Rico, as we just read, first purported sightings reported in Puerto Rico in 95. However, they've been reported in Puerto Rico since the 1970s. Much farther back.
Were they just reported as like something else, or is it is the one from 95 the first one that like specifically states Chupacabra?
Don't know, but the sightings date back to the 70s in Puerto Rico. Also, as far north as Maine, which is interesting, as far south as Chile, as well as Russia and the Philippines. So, I mean, well, I mean, if it's a cultural thing, you do have people of that culture travel, right? So
true. Yes.
That could be an explanation. If the Chupacabra is real, then who's to say he's not traveling maybe on a cargo ship in a crate? I don't know.
Jurassic Park style.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. I'm not surprised with the Maine or Chile, just because, we're all connected. But all of the reports are anecdotal and have been disregarded as uncorroborated or lacking evidence. Sightings in northern Mexico and the southern United States have been verified as canids afflicted by mange.
Imagine that.
Hey, I mean, who would have guessed?
Only people who watch an abnormal amount of nature TV like I do.
Hey. Well, then I'd question who's reporting this as a chupacabra.
People who do not watch animal and science shows.
Mythical animal shows is what they watch. Bigfoots, aliens.
Yes.
I can't say that because I watch that stuff and I'm not convinced of the chupacabra. Right?
That's fair. Some people fall down that rabbit hole farther than others.
Yeah, it just depends. Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? It's interesting. So,
but I'm sure
I see how it happens,
It's also probably like you said, cultural too. Just, I'm sure there's things that we have in America that people truly like believe in versus, would be the same way. Like I know that people in West Virginia very strongly believe in Mothman. So
yeah, Mothman's a biggie.
Yes.
There's also the Hellier. Have you seen that show Hellier?
I have not.
Watch it.
What platform?
Dude. Oh God, you'd have to Google it. I don't remember. It was a while back. It's episodes, probably 9-10 episodes, something like that. But it has to do with out in the hills and stuff in the mountains. You should really watch it. I think you'll watch it and you'll be like, oh Jesus, I've never heard of this before, and you'll probably like binge it. I'd put money on it.
As long as there's a whole season, like start to finish out, I will totally binge it because I loathe having to wait a week for the next episode.
Yeah, has to do with the goblins and stuff that are reported to live in the caves and come out and all that, but they go out and investigate. Yeah, and supposedly...
Like in America here?
Uh-huh.
Goblins. Oh,
yep.
That's interesting. I like this. Okay.
You remember that other story? God, you guys out there are going to know, and it's just slipping my mind. I know we have it for a future show, but goblins. There's a story of a family that was home at night, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but basically they were seeing these goblins outside their window coming up, and they were coming up to the window. It was enough. They were all freaked out. One of them even grabbed a gun, I think a shotgun, and started shooting at them and all this stuff. They wound up contacting the sheriff like that night, like, hey, you need to get out here, all this stuff. And they were scared, really pretty bad. But everyone's saying, they were drinking, they were all drunk, which I believe they were. It was a big old controversy with it, but, yeah, I mean, that's all stuff in the States. We know like caves in the mountain systems and stuff, they're long reported as possible spots for goblins, unknown creatures, possibly aliens, things like that. It's a thing.
It makes sense. I mean, we're still mapping out mammoth caves to this day. I believe they still just recently mapped out and released another 4 miles of cave system, making it the longest recorded cave system in America, if not, I think, the world. I could be wrong on that, but I know it's definitely America. But Mammoth Caves, like, I've been there, and man.
Wow, yeah, I don't know about the world, because I just watched a movie on that soccer team, I think in the Philippines, I could be wrong on that got trapped in the cave system. They had gone hiking. This was, if you recall, it was in the news. It was big.
I do.
A year or two ago.
I do recall that. Yeah.
They went back, and I think that was like miles and miles. Like, and it keeps going. It's just where they got trapped is where they stopped or something.
Well, I'm sure it's maybe like not the biggest one in the world, as there's so much other land out there. But I believe it's the biggest mapped cave system, and I think they just actually connected another cave system and the Mammoth Cave system recently as well. So that also added to its overall mileage. But again, back to, I digress, sorry.
So it sounds like a good place for a chupacabra to live.
Exactly. I mean, if I was a mythical creature, a cave would definitely be the best spot. So
mountains are just synonymous with a lot of these different things. Bigfoot, mountains, of course, because there's a lot less people.
Rocky, harder terrain to pass if you're not built for that. Yeah.
aliens and whatever mysterious lights people are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it multiple times on the show, I'll say it again. I grew up and lived most of my life very close to where I live now, like 15 miles away, 20 miles away. The difference is that now I'm inland a little more from the coast, and we butt up to a mountain range. And I've never seen anything in my life I cannot explain until I moved here. And I've seen, I told you last show, I think is like probably 4 or 5 instances of some weird lights. 3 of those I think I can explain away if I have to, but they're still odd. But 2 of them I 100% cannot now. One of them just happened 2 weeks ago with the whole comet thing that was supposed to be visible in the sky, that green comet. And we live right by the mountains, and I'm not the only one around here who's reported seeing some weird things. But you got to be very careful with what you're looking at, and you can't just jump to a conclusion. But mountains have long been a huge thing with these lights. Look at what is it in Utah? The Skinwalker Ranch, hills, all that stuff, as well as a particular type of rock that's underground, and I wanted to say shale had something to do with it. A lot of these areas.
Yes, I do recall shale being something about that.
Yeah, and if you look into David Paulides, the retired law enforcement who was a detective and all that stuff, who's got the missing 411 books and shows, he's the one that's doing all these investigations into missing persons in the national park systems. And he's looking into them because they're ridiculously odd. Like that, none of them are making sense, and the national parks don't talk about them. Well, he's finding a lot of correlation between these, and a lot of them, these missing people going missing around rock formations, rock slides. Not that there was a rock slide and that's why they went missing, but around those particular areas where these things had already happened, and boom, they're just going missing. We're talking some really weird stuff. I highly suggest you look them up.
Yeah,
it's great. We'll do some stuff on that in the future because it's
sure.
really interesting.
Oh man, speaking about national parks and possibly in the future, there is a tiny section in America where murder is legal, and it's in a national park, Yellowstone to be exact.
Did I hear about that from you?
Possibly you heard about it from me. But what's crazy is Michigan State did a whole paper and almost like a story about this. So I'll send you some information about that. But yeah, definitely, there are definitely things going on in our national parks, for sure.
Yeah,
not just national parks, but any secluded mountainous area.
Yeah. Well, I have a story from a mountainous area in the Sierra Nevadas. We'll do that another show, but I definitely have a story.
By the way, I lived on the other side of those mountains that you... Sorry to scratch the mic. I lived on the other side. Huh?
But way south of them.
Yeah, I was on the way north of them because I was up by the Air Force Base in Modesto. Right there in Antelope Valley, right where the Bernardino and LA line is. Right,
yeah, Sierra Nevadas are way north of that.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the ones that you live by.
And those are I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, I lived on the north side of your mountains for a year, and I can definitely agree. I stare to those mountains all the time because they're beautiful, and there are some times where there has been some unexplained lights over on the mountain ridge itself that are just way too bright to have been man-made. I get it.
Some people talk about lights like that on these local mountains right where I'm at. Now, these local ones right where I'm at, this is just a very tiny mountain range right here. And behind that, you go through a big valley and some other cities. And then there's a major mountain range with popular lakes people go to. And then there's the ones
one I live behind.
Well, there's the ones that you lived by, which are north of that. These are all south of there. The ones you were at, we can see from particular roads, they're covered in snow right now. Those aren't too close to us. But people
I
around
didn't
here,
realize there was another range. Wow.
yeah, people around here are talking about the lights on these mountains right here all the time, and what they're not realizing or maybe wanting to admit, there's trails going up because there's a huge antenna station. There's a couple of them up there, and there's trails you can drive up, dirt trails, and people go 4x and up there all the time, and they have their super bright installed lights on their trucks.
True.
And that's what they're seeing.
Oh, I was like an hour away from the range. I was like an hour north of Phelan.
Yeah.
So like to see lights on that range was just weird because it's like I shouldn't be able to see lights. But
yeah, I'd like to go see. Well, back to chupacabras here. I bet you their eyes would look like lights if you shined a flashlight in them.
I wonder if they'd be green or red or yellow.
I don't know. I'd want to see.
I would rather see green eyes than like red eyes. That would terrify me.
Yeah. Well, my guess is they'd attack you, but
yeah, that'd be the last thing you see. You would never be able to tell anyone.
Yeah. But speaking of attacks, their first reported attack, eventually attributed to the actual chupacabras, occurred in March of 1995. Now we're back to 95. 8 sheep were discovered dead in Puerto Rico, each with 3 puncture wounds in the chest area and reportedly completely drained of blood. A few months later in August, an eyewitness named Madeline Tolentino reported seeing the creature in the Puerto Rican town of Canovanas, where as many as 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed. Now, this literally just went to what I had mentioned to you at the beginning of the show. Drained of blood and all this. You got to remember these aren't people that are dissecting these things and looking to verify that the blood is or isn't in there. I think what they're seeing is, the things cut open or there's puncture wounds, but they're not seeing a ton of blood. We don't know when the animal died. So, what I was listening to the other night, what I was telling you about, I think it's coming back to me now, is you have an animal that dies and it's been dead for enough time, say a few hours, where other animals come and start eating it. And that was where the guy was saying, you're not going to have the blood spilling out all over the place. Whereas if you just went up and sliced an animal with a knife while it was alive, of course it'd be bleeding all over, just as you and I would, right? But after it's been dead for so long, that's not going to happen. That's kind of what this sounds like to me right here.
Because once you pass after a particular time, your blood does pool on the side of whatever you're laying on. So yeah, I mean,
it could be different with animals though. I know with people, yes, that's much different, and you have all these bodily fluids that start seeping out and just nasty crap everywhere.
That does take time. That's like full after like rigor mortis, though. Not to be weird and creepy.
Yeah, so Puerto Rico, 150 farm animals and pets reportedly killed.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a million explanations. With this, it doesn't say anything about a chupacabra possibly being seen at all. So, it's what's interesting to me is how people will just associate that with something like that nobody knows for a fact is even real, a chupacabra. Whereas, yes, it's really odd, but there's no reason it couldn't have been a coyote or whatever they have living out there.
Yeah, but like, why would it kill so many things but not eat them?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying is it's odd for what most animals would do, but then again, you never know. I mean, if you have something like a pack of coyotes and they've been out there starving, I mean, this is out in the desert,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Starving.
Why wouldn't they eat them?
Well, maybe they did,
I don't know. Like,
you're not getting the full report here, so it's like,
true.
Who knows? Puerto Rican comedian and entrepreneur Silverio Perez is credited with coining the term chupacabras soon after the first incidents were reported in the press. Shortly after the first reported incidents in Puerto Rico, other animal deaths were reported in other countries, such as Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, and the United States.
So the entire Central and South
Right.
American area, pretty much.
That says some things to me, and I'm not saying it's correct or not, but I'm now looking at the possibility of an educational issue. You know, they don't have the lifestyle there. They're not able to have what we have in the United States. The education may be a lot less, you know, and that plays into, I mean, I think they've shown it, that plays into a lot of these things. You know, if you're not too savvy on how to fact check or use critical thinking to look at things, and you have already heard these stories, then why wouldn't you just attribute it? I mean, look at religion, right? One of the arguments kind of against religion you always hear is, you know, you'll hear these people talking to atheists, and the atheists are saying, well, do you ever actually stop and think about your religion? You believe in the Christian God, but there's all these other religions all over the world, and guess what? They claim the same thing as you, that their God is the one true God, and that's it, and that yours isn't real. So how can you be so adamant that yours is real? You were born into this. You were taught this growing up. That's why you believe it. You hear it, and this is the one thing in your life you don't need proof for, is God, right? Is religion. So, you know, I mean, there's different reasons people will jump into things. And hey, I'm not saying the Chupacabra is not real, guys. I've never seen one. But you have to look into other reasons for these things. And you're seeing this all, like you said, in a huge area of the same country. So a little bit in the U.S., I'd question what states. I have an idea.
I would say probably the ones that border Mexico.
Yeah, probably the ones with crocodiles and alligators too. Which ones do we have alligators?
That would be Florida, like
Yes.
Louisiana, Alabama.
Yes.
All of them.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So in October and December 2018, there came many reports of suspected chupacabras in Manipur, India. This is 2018.
What?
Many domestic animals and poultry were killed in a suspicious manner, similar to other chupacabra attacks. And several people reported that they had seen chupacabras. However, forensic experts opined the street dogs were responsible for mass killing of domestic animals and poultry after studying the remnants of a corpse.
That also makes sense. But I mean, at the same time, if I truly believe that if something was to ever like mythical beast be a thing, I feel like India would be a good place for it to like be and start, or like have one version of it, just simply because of like the age of the country, and like it does have some incredibly rich mountainous areas. So that kind of makes sense a little bit in my head. Probably not in a way that would make sense to other people, but I'm.
Well, they also have more animals running around too, like
true
dogs just out in the streets. If I'm not mistaken,
they
I know
do.
places
Yes.
like Italy does, and I was surprised to hear that.
Really?
Yeah, it's a normal thing in certain areas there, and I believe India as well. But you know, of course, they live there, right? So they're used to it. So you'd think they know what they're looking at. So now we go back to dogs with mange. You know, could it be? You know,
yeah. I mean, street dogs, yeah, very well. I mean, coyotes, very well. Yes, it could very well be mange. It's not like it's an uncommon thing. Mange, I do believe, is like a bacterial skin infection.
Yeah.
So I see that as something that would be very easy to come by and acquire in not so maybe cleanly situations, or maybe like they got
Right.
hurt and that got infected and it caused the mange. I'm not sure. I'm not a vet tech, but I see a lot of animals actually with mange, like not just dogs.
Well,
I
I think down there in South America, you're going to have a lot more of that. You know, like here in America, in the United States, why don't we see that all the time? Well, it's because we have laws, we have things in place. We don't have dogs running around wild in the streets. A lot of people wouldn't care, right? They'd probably be friendly. Well, I'm not saying there aren't any, but
it's just not.
We have things to take care of that problem, whereas other countries don't. They don't have things in place.
The dogs that do run wild probably don't trust humans and like wouldn't be so willing to be on main streets.
Right. So, I mean, there's some running around, of course, but not like some of these other countries where it's just normal to walk outside and there's dogs running around, you know? So in a place like South America, desert, you know, we know the lifestyle is much different than here. It's not as good. Highly believable that there's in any 1 square mile at least one dog running around with mange.
Do you feel like maybe because of like the humidity that it would be more common around there too, since it is a bacterial infection?
Around here?
No, like in Latin America and South America and basically all of Latin America, Central and South.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more prominent there because of like the temperature and the weather. Just maybe a thought. I don't know.
Yeah,
Not a vet tech, don't know crap about mange, but I'm just making assumptions. I think I'm just going to go fact check myself right now.
Hey, definitely could be. So a 5-year investigation by Benjamin Radford, documented in his 2011 book, Tracking the Chupacabra, concluded that the description given by the original eyewitness in Puerto Rico, Madeline Tolentino, was based on the creature Syl in the 1995 science fiction horror film Species. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of that.
Did you get rid of the video on FaceTime? Doesn't matter.
I minimized it slightly because I was fact checking myself.
Gotcha. I got you.
And come to find out, I was really wrong from the beginning, and I will admit that I was wrong. Again, not a vet tech. Mange is actually caused by tiny external parasites called mites. Mites can lead to severe irritation of the skin, which can significantly impact the dog's quality of life.
I had no clue. So,
scabies. Ooh.
So they're saying this description given by Madeline Tolentino is based off the Syl creature from horror film Species from 95. So regarding that film, the alien creature Syl is nearly identical to Tolentino's Chupacabra eyewitness account. She had seen the movie before her report. It was a creature that looked like the Chupacabra with spines on its back and all. And the resemblance to the Chupacabra was really impressive. Oh, it was a quote. It was a creature that looked like the Chupacabra with spines on its back and all. The resemblance to the Chupacabra was really impressive. That's what Tolentino had said. Radford revealed that Tolentino, quote, believed that the creatures and events she saw in Species were happening in reality in Puerto Rico at the time. End quote. And therefore concludes that the most important Chupacabra description cannot be trusted. And that kind of goes to what I said earlier. Oh, I think I was trying to say earlier. You have one person saying it and they're adamant it's true. Well, depending on the other types of people you're around, you could easily go for it, you know? And that's how a lot of these things start. So the reports of blood sucking by the Chupacabra were never confirmed by a necropsy. Necropsy. How do you pronounce that?
Necropsy? Necropsy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
See it all the time. Never even said the word. Dr. David Morales. He's a Puerto Rican veterinarian with the Department of Agriculture. analyzed 300 reported victims of the chupacabra and found that they had not been bled dry.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
In late October 2010, University of Michigan biologist Barry O'Connor concluded that all the chupacabra reports in the United States were simply coyotes infected with the parasite Sarcoptes scabiei.
Mange.
So, right, whose symptoms would explain most of the features of the chupacabra. They would be left with little fur, thickened skin, and a rank odor. O'Connor theorized that the attacks on goats occurred because these animals are greatly weakened, so they're going to have a hard time hunting. So they may be forced into attacking livestock because it's easier than running down a rabbit or a deer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, makes sense, people.
Yeah, totally. I've never really been a believer in the chupacabra from like day one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm glad that people are actually like doing studies about it and being like, here, this is what's up.
Yeah.
I'm a scientist. This is facts, proof. Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, we should be with anything that comes up like this. It's just a matter of
Obtaining.
how prevalent is it, and how much time should we really be spending digging into those things? How many resources should we be wasting trying to verify this is or isn't true? You know, one thing you always got to remember when it comes to this type of stuff, and one of the first people I think of is Bob Lazar, but Bigfoot, aliens, spaceships from another planet, goblins. You know, you always hear people saying things like, yeah, that person can't prove it, but you can't disprove it. And what they don't realize is the burden of proof isn't on someone to disprove it. The burden of proof is on the person making the claim, especially a wild claim like some of these could be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you should never be able to fault anyone for saying, nope, complete BS, unless you can prove it, right?
Right.
If you can't provide anything, then, you know, like I said, burden proof is on you. You're saying chupacabra is real? Prove it. So, you know, how many resources do we, you know, and how long do we want to put those into studying these things?
Right.
They definitely should be. It'll help with education at some point, maybe. There are reports of stray Mexican hairless dogs being mistaken for chupacabras as well.
See, that's
Chihuahuas.
No. Look, I can't even pronounce like the name of this dog. It's crazy. I know it starts with an X, but it's not pronounced like an X. It's like pronounced like an S or something. I could totally see that. That's actually what I was thinking originally, especially since the difference between Latin America, Puerto Rico, and, you know, Mexico and the South Americas or South American states. It's the canine thing is, I was like, it's probably because they have a national Mexican hairless dog. So maybe that's why they associate that with a canid versus more of a island would do lizards, you know, because that's probably more prevalent for them there. And obviously lizards do have the spines down their back like iguanas. So I get where the distinctions are. I do find that interesting because I didn't know that there was a difference in how they described it, but I absolutely understand why.
Right, and you imagine if they have a hairless dog like that that's very common out there, and you get a lot of them running around wild, and boom, a bunch of them start getting mange, they're going to look more like this creature that's been described, right?
I'm just imagining this. It looks terrible in my head. Oh, those poor dogs. I'm sure it feels terrible too.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
I know, I just still feel bad.
So we're back to some more descriptions. This is going to kind of repeat, but it's a little more in depth. Reptile-like creature, leathery or scaly greenish gray skin, and sharp spines or quills running down its back. 3 to 4 feet high, and stands and hops in a fashion similar to that of a kangaroo. Strange breed of wild dog, mostly hairless and has a pronounced spinal ridge, unusually pronounced eye sockets, fangs, and claws. So all that right there, what that describes to me is a starving, sick dog.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you're seeing a pronounced spine, pronounced eye sockets, fangs, claws, everything. You know,
Yeah.
Things starving. It's ridiculously malnourished and is probably got mange.
Oh my God. I'm such an animal lover. This breaks my heart to hear these poor things. I'm bad. I'm sorry.
you know what's out there. It's there's nothing you can do.
I know.
But, I mean, that's probably one of the reasons we have strict laws on that stuff out here. Dogs on leash, this and that. That way we don't get all the wild dogs going around. We have procedures in place. We have animal control in most of our areas to go pick these things up, and that helps keep diseases and things down. A lot of these other countries don't have that. They don't. A lot of them might not have the ability. So, unlike conventional predators, the chupacabra is said to drain all of the animal's blood and sometimes organs, usually through 3 holes in the shape of a downwards pointing triangle, but sometimes through only 1 or 2 holes. Again, that's just part of a story, that other guy had already gone in there and did some investigation, Radcliffe or whatever it was, and had said, no, they weren't draining blood. So
yeah, but the holes, like when you say holes, I imagine like a bowling ball. So like
same here,
because they don't just like it. They don't explain how large the holes are. I really did not want to say it like that, but it came out that way.
It could be anything. I mean, we've seen 2 dead bunnies around here in the last probably 3 weeks, and the kids, especially one of them, loves
bunnies,
surgery, blood, bones. If this kid could watch an open heart surgery, she would choose that.
I was
over
about
a cartoon.
to say, I have a feeling I can guess which one. Yep.
And she'll watch brain surgery, you name it.
That's
right?
Amazing. I love this. I love this.
So they find these dead rabbits at separate times, right? And what's interesting is the rabbits are just laying there dead on their side. There's no blood anywhere, no nothing. But on both of these ones, again, these were weeks apart, eyeballs were gone. And you notice there's crows hanging around.
Yep, crows will eat the soft tissues first, and that's almost always the eyeballs.
Right, but there is nothing. But that's what I'm saying. You're, so like on this, you're questioning the 3 holes.
Crows picking holes in the body.
Well, I'm not saying it's that, but I'm just correlating it to like these bunnies. I'm looking at these bunnies, and I'm wondering how they died, right? There's no blood anywhere. Of course, I'm not turning them over to see if they're cut on the other side or what happened. My guess is hit by a car, but one of them's like right in front of our house. It's just on this little street. Did they really get hit by a car? If so, why are they all the way over on the side? They probably were alive long enough to limp over there.
Or ricocheted. I don't know.
Right. I don't know, but I find it interesting that the eyes are gone and there's crows hanging around, but the crows have been there for a minute or 2, right? So why am I not seeing any more damage? So one could say it looks odd. And there's no blood anywhere. I think if the eyes are gone, blood would be coming out. But these things are sitting there overnight, and probably without any cuts. So, I'm just saying, like with these 3 holes, without any real study being done on some of those supposed instances, there's probably a very reasonable explanation.
True. It might be.
It is odd.
It might be the location of particular organs that are preferred by crows, because they do peck, so the holes make sense at that point. So maybe because I know at least in like Africa in the wild, hyenas normally when they find something dead will go, this is going to sound terrible, but they go ass first. Just because it's the easiest way to get to what they prefer, which happens to be the organs inside.
Well, yeah, animals are very smart.
Oh, yeah.
and
Smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah, you see lions and tigers, panthers attacking other animals. What do? They grab on with the claws, typically try to on the back or the side, and their mouth, they go straight for the neck. Why? Because they know that's going to be the easiest way to kill that animal. And I'm thinking of these rabbits out here. Well, the easiest way for an animal like a crow that has no hands, no thumbs, the easiest way for it to start getting inside there to get what it wants is going to be through an orifice. Just like you mentioned, the hyenas going for the butt of these animals. I've seen that a ton of times in videos. Interesting that they do that. And every time I pucker up, because I'm like, oh, that's got to hurt. It sucked to be an animal in the wild, man.
Get so grossed out when I watch things like that. Like when the hyenas are like really going at it, it's just like, oh. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe the stomach is just softer. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that the belly is the softest spot to get through. So I mean, if they are 3 holes on the underside, that makes sense. But again, we don't know how big the holes are, what their spacings are. Like, because I'm thinking freaking bowling ball at this point. But
well, it doesn't say where the holes were. It just said,
really?
Usually through three holes in the shape of a downwards pointing triangle. I see a downwards pointing triangle associated with this. What I'm thinking is a claw kind of tearing down, maybe, so you're going to have a bigger puncture, and as it's pulling its claws out and coming down, that's just what comes to my mind. Who knows?
True.
But
I don't know why I assumed they were on the stomach of the animal.
Who knows?
I don't know. That just, to me, it would make sense to be on the belly, I guess, just because, again, fastest way to the internal stuff that is supposedly missing, in my mind, would be through the belly.
Yeah. Well, for the most part, that's it on chupacabras. For me, I am glad to see that there are a few people that have gone in and studied, like this guy, Barry O'Connor in the United States, looking at the United States reports saying, nope, verified they're coyotes, basically with mange. And who's the other guy? David Morales, the veterinarian, Puerto Rican veterinarian, said, nope, not found any evidence that they've actually been bled dry. They've not been bled dry. And the other guy, it's kind of nice to see people are looking into it because,
education
need to sort out the fact from the fiction.
Key to curbing things like that. Like, again, it is cultural. So
could be, yeah. Oh, I mean, chupacabra is, of course, but yeah.
But at the same time, science to disprove like unnecessary fear of a creature is definitely a good thing.
Yeah. More facts out there, the better.
Show people it's not some mythical demon that's out to get them and is a sign of bad luck, but it's just a poor dog that's having a bad life.
Right.
Or coyote.
And if you look at those pictures, like that first picture, I sent over to you, if you got someone with a picture like that and they're in a community that might be more inclined to believe something like this, and this person's just adamant, look, this looks exactly like the thing I saw. I mean, you look at that thing, it's got elf ears, it's got these big old fangs and
characterized.
It looks like a mangy piece of junk trying to take a poop. and people are gonna, there's a lot of people out there that are just gonna jump to it and believe it, but a lot of people want something to follow. They want something they can get behind as well.
Yeah.
And
Some people enjoy the unknown.
Well, I do. I
know.
I think
yeah,
you do.
I definitely do. I mean, like, but some people really, truly believe, like unicorns, phoenixes, stuff like that. Like, truly believe. That's all I'm saying. Like, there are some people who take it up a notch into, like, not just, hey, this could be a thing, but let's talk about it scientifically. But it's like, this is it. No questions asked. I don't need to be shown proof.
Right. They're completely unwilling to listen to anything else.
But hey, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
It depends. I mean,
true.
Depends how you look at it.
As long as it's not hurting them, like, let them.
Well, it's fine, and it's fine until they're manipulating other people into believing the same thing, more impressionable people. It's fine until they're manipulating children into believing things.
I agree.
Like that, you know?
Like I said, as long as it's not hurting them or anyone else.
Yeah.
Fine by me. If they want to believe that Bigfoot is real, that's great. Like, but I'm just like, I like you.
Be. I mean,
I like you, want the proof, and we'll continue to dig for facts and discuss it. So on the internet with my cousin.
Unlike the Chupacabra, there's at least a slight possibility something like Bigfoot might be possible.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I mean,
there's a much better chance of that.
Yeah. Have you ever gone on the BFRO website? It stands for Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization.
No, but now I'm gonna have to fall down that rabbit hole as well. Thank you.
Go on BFRO. Think of MUFON in a way where basically you can go on there and you can see reported sightings or audible things, whatever, from all around the country, and it gives you the locations, what the reports were, kind of like MUFON in a way. It's really interesting, especially if you look in like certain areas that you know, and you go, oh, I wonder if there's any around here, and you go click into the map around that area. They're really interesting, and I've always, when it comes to things like Bigfoot, alien stories, I am always very picky about which ones I'll read, because a lot of them you can easily get the sense, who knows? But man, you go read some of these, and it's like, well, Jesus, who knows, man?
What was the website again? Because now I have to know if there's anyone around my area. BRFO. BFRO. Man, hello, dyslexia.
Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization.
I got it. This is awesome. I can't wait to see if there's been anyone around my area. Because, like, I am in, like, farmer, field of Indiana, and so I would actually be quite interested to see if there was any recent sightings or any sightings at all near me.
I guarantee you there probably is, especially with you being up there closer to Canada and more foresty areas than here. I'll tell you, I mean, Bigfoot's a whole nother show, so we can't get too much into it here.
No. But I'm definitely going to.
You'll be very surprised where some of the reports have come from, but you'll also see a lot of correlation with what's always been said. Mountainous, foresty places where there literally is no one, and it's like hikers, backpackers, hunters that are reporting them. And it's like, are you telling me all these people are lying? Are you telling me all these people really believe they saw something, but they really didn't? Mm-hmm. Who knows, right? But, there's probably a lot of credible ones, and it's like, well, what the hell is it they're really seeing? Everyone knows what a bear looks like. If a bear's standing on its hind legs, everyone still knows it's a damn bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get into credibility, and then you really have to get into, well, who is this person really? And you're never going to know who that person has been their whole life, and what they may be more willing or less willing to think and believe,
Right.
There's a lot that goes with it that you just don't know. So,
fun fact, there has been one Bigfoot sighting in my county of Indiana. I honestly cannot believe that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a BFRO.net is the website. Any of you out there want to go check it out if you haven't heard it? BFRO.net.
Highly suggest it. Great website, actually, just from looking at it for that quick second. It's really like concise and clear, like where to go to get the breakdown of like your region, your state, like recently added sightings if you want to join an expedition. Like I saw literally all that in like 5 seconds of looking at the front page, which I appreciate a very well laid out front page because I am ADHD, if you couldn't tell. So that was great. So definite shout out to their team on the website for making it super user friendly. But yeah, definitely people should check that out. They would be really surprised.
Yeah, it's easy to do. And if nothing else, doesn't matter if you believe in Bigfoot or not. It's interesting just to go look at the areas and read some of the stories. I mean, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Any final thoughts or comments or anything for Chupacabras? It's everything I thought it'd be and more.
Yeah, it's well, not more, but it is everything I thought it would be. Yes.
Yeah, definitely some interesting information.
For sure.
We're always going to find out something we never knew, and maybe stuff that we always thought possibly, and turns out probably.
And a lot of stuff that I didn't know, but then I hear it and I'm like, I should have known that. That makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, but it's what I thought it was going to be, but
yeah,
it's still good discussion, and it is good to hear that people, like you said, are doing studies to help, people who were once scared by something realize that there's no need to be scared and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, we got a Chupacabra. We have a Chupacabra running around our area. We have a lot of coyotes around here. It was like probably 2 months ago. We saw a nasty looking one running around, which some other people have reported it as well. Running around here, just a little nasty looking one. I'm like, man, I'm getting my hands on it. It's funny because we always hear people posting like on Nextdoor around here. My cat went missing last night. If anyone's seen him, like your cat is not missing. Is
dead, ma'am.
Your cat was dinner.
Oh, God.
Unfortunately, I'm not making fun of it, but it's just funny how these people just think like
yeah. That's why you keep your cats inside. Not only that, but cats. Well, I get it. Like cats should go outside. I get that, but at the same time, it's for their safety.
It's easy for an animal like a cat to sneak out. They're very quiet and sneaky. And
yes, as I'm staring at my sneaky one chilling in my room with me.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them are accidental going outside.
Absolutely, but I mean, like the people who intentionally let their cats outside, like, please don't.
Yes,
not only is it really bad for the local
cat.
Ecosystem, but it's not safe for your cat. If you want your precious baby to come home, just keep them inside.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about your missing cat if you're one that let your cat outside.
Yes. Jesus. Yes.
And I don't want to wind up feeding him for you because
and I don't want
to
see it in the road. Damn it! I just don't want to see it in the road. I have seen enough things in the road. I could go without for the rest of my life again.
There's one animal that we always know when it's dead, but we never see.
Skunk.
A skunk. Yep.
There's one on my main street that I take every day to work. But yeah.
Never see him. All right, well, that's it. What's that?
I said my dog Nanook got hit in the face one time by a skunk. Horrible.
Hey, it's too bad they stink, man, because they're like little squirrels. I like squirrels and chipmunks, man.
Yeah, they are.
I'd love to have a pet squirrel. That'd be awesome. Of course, we have a lot of Karens in our area, so I'd have to keep that secret.
Well, that was a great episode.
Yeah. Chupacabras, people.
Can't wait to see what we're going to talk about next time.
Yeah. Check them out. Don't believe the hype.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, we'll have another one for you guys soon. Hopefully something somewhat interesting. Some point in the near future, Bob Lazar coming up. I just saw a podcast the other night this guy was doing on it because he found some information that someone else actually has the time and the resources to go in and fact check. Very interesting, and has changed my output a little bit about Lazar. Turns out it looks like he did work at Los Alamos, but not as a physicist, and he worked for an outside company. So he didn't work directly for them. And that's important. We'll get into that in the Lazar episodes when we do those.
For the love of everything,
soon.
send me that, please.
Yeah.
Just because of my friend that I was telling you about, like, their obsession runs deep.
I will try and look that up right now, actually.
Please.
And see what that was. It was super interesting. I was like, now it makes sense, because there were some other things. I was questioning some other people if they may be complicit in this story as well, if the story is not true. And now, seeing what I just saw, now I'm back to, okay, these people are more trustworthy. Maybe not Lazar, but these other people. But we'll have to get in there
yes,
on some episodes.
Oh man,
I could go on all night about this one, but we'll save it. So Chupacabras, we are done. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Bring our user count up to 10.
If you have any stories or encounters with any UAPs or UFOs of your own, please email them to us. We would love to hear your stories.
obscuredr1@gmail.com. Any stories, Bigfoot, obscure stories, right? Paranormal, like you said, aliens, UAPs, Bigfoots, Chupacabras. We're not judgmental. We're looking for facts and evidence. We'll tell the story. A lot of people have legitimate stories, and it's real to them, no matter what the outcome is. And a lot of people want to say something, and they're afraid to. Oh
yeah,
we'll do it for you. We'll do it for you.
Absolutely, no judgment here.
Yeah, nope. Everybody's different. So, obscuredr1@gmail.com. Type story in the subject line, so we know what it is. Please only email those. If you got comments on the show, what you like, what you don't like, do those in the comments down below. And we are going to catch you on the next episode. Peace out.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.